Hi, everybody. I'm Sam Mewis, and this is the Women's Game. It's technically just our second episode today, but this is the first time that I'm hosting the show on my own. And we have kind of the perfect guest. It's U.S. Women's National Team captain, my friend, the great Lindsey Horan. We had such an awesome conversation ranging from our 2019 World Cup memories, Lindsey's experience at Lyon, the 2023 World Cup penalty kick shootout, and the upcoming Olympics. But before we start, I just really want to thank everybody for all of the kind words, messages, and support during this past week. So on Friday, I announced my retirement. And then the plan was to have a group workout with all my friends and the people that I work out with from my gym on Saturday morning. So I had some friends in town. We went to the gym Saturday morning and we did this really hard workout, ending in these bike sprints that, if you ask any of my friends who were there, it was very memorable. Everybody was really tired. And then on Saturday night, we had a party at this restaurant in Cambridge that my husband used to work at. It's called Source. It's like a really awesome pizza place, and we know the people who work there. So we rented it out, and I had friends in town from like my old soccer teams. I had old coaches there. All my family was there. And we had pizza. We made a couple of speeches. We watched a little highlight reel of me. And it was so much fun. It was exactly what I wanted the day to be like. I got to connect with a lot of people I haven't spoken to in a long time, but who were really influential to my career. It was so awesome. Rose Lavelle walked in with a box of goldfish as a gift for me, and I literally burst into tears on the spot. It was very, very sweet, and I had the best time. But I am ready to get back to work to bring you all the best women's football content that we possibly can. I've been inundated with messages. Thank you again, but I wanted to share one very special message that stuck out to me from Jacqueline Smith, who sent an email to us here at MIB. Jacqueline said, "The club my daughter plays for names their teams after U.S. women and men soccer players. A lot of thought is given to choosing a player who embodies characteristics that are worthy of a mentor and a lifelong connection to a player over the course of their soccer careers. Some examples were U13 Horan, U12 Lavelle, U10 Morgan. I am the manager for 13 Mewis, and our family has been part of this team since its inception in 2020. I've watched the girls grow not only as soccer players, but as individuals, teammates, and all-around good humans. Of course, some players come and go, but there is a core group within this team that has been together since they were 7 years old. These are the girls I'm writing to you about. I always do what I can to instill confidence in the players. I tell them girls can do anything boys can do and never let anyone tell you otherwise. Girls can accomplish anything they put their mind to, and now I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm sure you're feeling all the feelings right now as you have just retired, but please know you have impacted so many young girls who have enjoyed watching you play for years and years, especially our little group in Pennsylvania." Jacqueline, thank you so much for those kind words. And I actually have some words of encouragement for the young players on the 2013 Mewis team in Berks County, Pennsylvania. The past week for me has been super emotional. I've been sent messages from people I haven't spoken to in years, many of whom commented on my quality as a player. But the messages that really hit home talk more about who I am as a person and a human being, and how I made people feel when I played with them on the same team or interacted with them in the soccer world. So I think my advice to your young girls would be that your quality as a soccer player is second to your character. Treating people well with respect and humanity is something that we all can do every day, no matter how good we are at a game. So thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing this message with me and allowing me to share a message back with your players. You all are the people that I'm hoping this platform can really resonate with. One last thing to the 13 Mewis team, keep me in the loop with how your season is going. I'm rooting for you all more than I can say. And everybody else, keep your emails coming. I feel like every time I read a really long one, I feel so honored that somebody took the time to type that out. It is really touching to read people's responses to something that I was nervous to announce and something that I had to really put a lot of time and emotional energy into, and to see that people respond with their own emotional energy it's so humbling and gratifying. It makes me feel like I had an impact on a lot of people as a person throughout my career, and I think that's kind of all you can ask for. So I just feel really grateful for people who wrote such nice things, and I'm really trying to read them all and respond the best that I can. So just honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for your support. It was hard for me to announce this and feel like people would ever respond in this way, and to see the support I've gotten has just been really heartwarming. So that brings you up to date on the last week in my world. A quick word on what you can expect over the next few months. My mission for this podcast is to cover the global game for women's football as best we can. I think that we have so many avenues we can cover. There's so many leagues to cover. And there's a ton of stories from players that haven't been told that I'm so interested in telling. I really want our audience to feel like these players are connected to them and that they're human and that we all have something in common. And I think that doing that through conversation is really like my passion. So providing these interviews and then also covering the scores and the news and who's going where and what big games are coming up. I think that the women's game is going to be that centralized location for everybody to get both information and heartfelt stories from players that we all know and love on the field. So I'm just really excited to be sharing this platform with all of you, and I hope that we can deliver everything that I just said. Just like this past weekend, when my sister Christy Mewis made her debut for West Ham in the WSL. Christy has wanted to play in England for such a long time, and I was so excited for her and proud of her. She ran onto the field and she got an assist almost right away. I was really so pumped for her. She was battling that corner flag, serving in free kicks with her left foot. I can't wait to share more moments like that with you all. And finally, here is the episode with Lindsey Horan. Today on the podcast, we have U.S. Women's National Team captain and Lyon midfielder Lindsey Horan. I have so many nicknames for Lindsey, but for the purposes of today, I'm going to try to stick to her actual name. In this new world of truly competitive global football, Lindsey is one of the few U.S. Women's National Team players who has elected to play her club football in Europe, honing her game in a different culture. She plays for Lyon in the French Women's League Division I Feminine and is one of the most versatile midfielders in the game. Between her ability to score goals, win 50-50 balls, make defensive tackles, tactically dictate the flow of the game, and absolutely nail volleys out of the air, I have always been so jealous of her talent and force on the field. Lindsey and I have competed against each other for playing time for years, and I think that that has only served to make us respect each other's games even more. Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Oh, you don't do that.
There's a lot more where that came from.
Yeah, geez. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being on here. I wanted to start. I don't think I've seen you in person since you got engaged.
Yeah, what the heck?
I know. Well, congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Your fiance, Tyler, works in football as well. I wanted to ask if you guys are discussing the game a lot.
That's probably the only reason we're together, because of the game. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I always joke with a lot of just football people that I think I always needed to be with someone that like knew the game, because I just talk about it way too much and watch it way too much. So I don't think I could have been with someone that doesn't know football, soccer.
I know. If he notices like analytically something that you're doing, does he tell you, or is that like a big no?
Does he tell me? This is what Tyler does, because I mean, you knew Tyler a little bit, but he's just so logical, and like he views the game and he sees it, and he's one of the most intelligent guys I know in football. But he'll be like, it was hard for us at the beginning because he was just in that mindset, not as a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So like sometimes where you just need like, babe, it was a good game, like that kind of thing. It was like, it was fine. Like you missed this pass, you could have done this here. Like that was crap. And I'm like, I had to teach him a little bit about, hey, you can't just be that Tyler right now. But it's actually really helpful.
Yeah. That's amazing. I know that's like kind of a secret weapon for you.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't have to hire an analyst.
Yeah. Okay, so. Lindsey. So like I was saying in your very complimentary but true intro, you and I competed for playing time on the national team for years. And one of my most vivid memories of our relationship is when we hugged after the England semifinal at the World Cup. And it felt like to me in that moment, as hard as it was for us to have to like share that role, we both realized and accepted right then that that was what was best for the team. And we kind of just let go of that internal competition for a moment and say like, of all people, I respect you so much and I recognize that this role on the team needs both of us. And I feel like the relationship that we had, we were challenging each other every day. It's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come and be my first guest on this show. Do you remember that moment that I'm talking about, and
Yes.
what did it mean to you?
Well, first off, if I can do this without crying, I get something. I always talk to Rose and Sonnet about this, actually, and especially the last few years that you haven't been with us. It's just like it was like such an incredible competition, because I don't think I've ever had that with anyone else, where you're like you're rooting for that person so much as well. And we've been close since like youth national teams, but it is really difficult when a friend of yours, you're actually competing against them, and in a massive tournament like that in the World Cup. And in 2019, it was just like it was one of those things. I never told you this, but I sat down and had a meeting with Jill where she was just like, there are 4 starting midfielders here, and each game might need something different. And one of those games you might be only getting 8 minutes. One of those games you might be starting. Like, that's how it is. And like,
Yeah.
if it's Sam, this is what we need from Sam, and this is what Sam's really good at. And if it's you, this is what you're really good at. And that kind of put things in perspective for me, because I was like, this is a team thing. Like, we just want to win. And at this point, I don't care. And of course, there were moments where I was like, I'm sure you had these too. You just want to play, and you're going to do anything to play. But I think it was one of the coolest moments in my career when we shared that and we hugged, and we're just like, no matter who plays, like, we want to freaking win. Like, I don't give a shit. And
I know.
And it's just, it's amazing. And I don't know if I'll ever have that again. So it's, and it's what you said. It's like, we pushed each other so much, and I think we both became better players because of it. And yeah, I am so grateful for that.
I know. I really am too. I think something that it's hard to share, because it's like this really complex series of emotions when you're on the national team, and these are your best friends. So you like need each other. You need their support. You need to be able to be friends and hang out, but you want to play yourself. And then in a moment like that, where it was so heightened, you want to win, and you're kind of battling with all of these feelings and emotions and your competitiveness and your love for this person and your selfishness that it should be you that's playing. And I think when I think about the moment that we shared where we just hugged, and I think we were both just like, we're doing it together. We're going to win. And I don't care who plays. I just love you. It was like, it encapsulated all of those feelings in just one moment. And I'm like, just really happy we shared that together.
I'm so happy you remember that, because it was like, it was so emotional, and it was so cool. I don't know if many people have that.
I know.
Honestly.
It was so cool. We're very lucky, Linz. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get going. I wanted to just hear, like, so you're in Lyon. Where are you? What was your day like today?
Ooh, today sucked. Today was a rough go. This is the best part of my day. I am in Lyon. We're at the second half of season now. We just started back up like mid-January. I'm actually at home right now. My dog's running around and barking at me, so that's lovely. Today we had like blood draw early this morning, and then we had a 30-meter max sprint test, which is just not my forte.
Haven't you phased out of this yet? You don't need to be doing this anymore.
I was trying to tell our high performance guy that. No, I didn't say it. I was like, just give me 29. No. And then we had training, lunch at the training facility, which is really nice, and then video. And then I was home. Bing, bam, boom.
Wow. Very professional setup there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
You've been there at Lyon now for 2 years. And Lyon is like historically the most successful team in the women's game in Europe. The club has won 8 Champions Leagues, 16 League Feminines, and they've really been the flag bearer for how the women's game has grown and developed in Europe in the past few years. What's Lyon like as a city? What's some of your favorite parts about being there?
It's just, I don't want to like crap on Paris, but I obviously lived in Paris for 3.5 years, and so I think I might have said this before to you, but I was very nervous about coming back here. But the city was like, it's just so chill and relaxed and a little bit more open to foreigners and Americans. And I don't know. It's just, it's comfortable. And maybe because I'm older as well, like I actually really enjoy it. And it helps that, Tyler's here as well. But, and then like the team and the culture in the team, it's just way more welcoming. And again, like you said, it's professional and it's where I want to be. But yeah, it's the life is like so nice here. And I just live and breathe football, so like being in Europe is great for me.
Yeah. It's almost like you read my mind. My next question is about this video that we just saw of you and your team after a recent game, chanting and singing in the locker room in French.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're like such a central part of team culture there. And I was curious, with so many international players from all corners of the globe, how does Lyon find common ground to all connect together like that?
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy. I've said it a lot lately about this team. It's like the first team I've been a part of where there really are no problems. The culture is really good, and it's about the team. I mean, there's egos. There's always egos on the team, but like the ego is for the team. It's about winning. It's about wanting to be the best, and it's about like, oh well, like what you said at the beginning. It's like this this club's won 8 Champions Leagues. This is the standard. This is the level. So like everything you put in every single day is for that. And so I think like the camaraderie is around that. Everyone is just so nice and great, and again, accepting of, the international players. And I think for me, it was like easy to mesh in with that. Again, I came at an older age, but I think, I'm one of the leaders here as well, which is really crazy to think about. And like that, and it's just crazy because I don't speak fluent French, or they tell me that I don't speak fluent French. So like my way of leading is in different ways. So I have to like find ways to do that and find ways to help, the younger players or whoever needs me. But it's crazy.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Your experience like of leadership changing depending on what team you're on. I think that's an incredible thing to have for your career. And you've spoken before about the development of the game in Europe and how you viewed your experience there as this really valuable opportunity to be playing this beautiful style of football. When I think of you, I think of like, let's pass and move. Let's get 100 passes before we go forward. Let's really manipulate the defense before we go for it. And at that point, it will be inevitable that we'll score. And is that viewpoint of yours, like, I want to play beautiful football, is that why you decided to go back to France and play for Lyon? And what areas have you found you've developed now that you've been there?
Yeah, I think again, I always have to like bite my tongue because I don't want to make it seem like the NWSL has none of this, because it's not true. And I think the NWSL is one of, the best leagues in the world. It's just different. But I like, an example for me was this past weekend, one of our goals, it happened to be me scoring, but the build-up play to the goal was just so pretty. and it's not even like about me scoring. It was just like, not tiki-taka even. It was like getting the ball. The first pass was forward. Then it was a combination play, third man run that, sometimes like didn't happen for me in the NWSL. It was kind of like, we get it, we go, we shoot. and again, not saying that it's only like that now, but it just felt so good. And I think that was one of my things when I wanted to come back here, was just like, I don't feel like I got that full experience at PSG because I was so young and, not confident and couldn't really impact the way I wanted to. And I'm like, okay, I think I could go do it again. I could play at a club like OL and play my style, how I see football. And I think that's where like I've learned not necessarily just the football things, but like being able to play in that and actually impact it in the way that I think I can. I think that's what I've been growing and learning to do. And again, it's more of like the leadership stuff that I think is coming into play here. So yeah, the experience like lately is just, again, just so different, but so special for me here.
Yeah, I love that. I think My experience at Man City was kind of similar. I think I kept getting this question from the media, like, what's the difference between the NWSL and the WSL? And I kept being like, it's like, it isn't black and white. Like, there is a few percentages here and there that have some differences. Like, I think stereotypically the NWSL is a little bit more transition based, and the WSL was a little bit more like tactical. But they're only like 1 or 2. I only felt like they were 1 or 2% differences. It wasn't this like totally different game. Yeah. But I have really been thinking about and interested in. I've heard that playing in the NWSL is so similar to playing for the national team, because it is really like, we get the ball, let's transition, let's go, let's play fast. We have great athletes on the team. Yeah. But playing for Lyon, of course, has a lot of those same elements, but might have a little bit of a different technical or tactical standard at times. Yeah. Is the transition to you easy? Like, do you find going back and forth from Lyon to the national team to be similar to going back and forth from Portland to the national team?
No, I actually do think it is a little difficult. I think it takes me like a day to like get back into the swing of things with the national team. And also more so just because it is more physical and just a little bit more demanding, like in our national team. Like, you know how it is in camps. Like, it's crazy at times. And I think the way they think here in France is just so different. And like, you take like just a simple possession based game, and in the national team, you know, it can be chaos at times, because like it's a bloodbath, and you that's how it is. So sometimes like the football isn't as great, but it's so difficult to like play and move and connect 10 passes because defensively we're so good. I think here in France, it's like, not saying we don't work hard, but like the players just value the possession and like, you know, saving a little bit of energy, pressing when they can, and then focusing on just the ball. So that could be a bad example, but I think that's where sometimes like I have to shift my brain a little bit when I get back to the national team, because I'm used to like certain players and how they play, and then coming from the NWSL, these type of players and how they're playing there, and bringing that into the national team. So yeah, it's a bit of an adjustment, but.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is another question I've been thinking a lot about. As you've gotten older, you're like a veteran leader, you're captain of the national team, you're leading at Lyon. Are you 29, 30?
29.
Oh my gosh, Linda. 29. Okay.
It's a few months.
Oh my goodness. Have you found that you've had a mindset shift of all through our 20s where like we have to get better? We're going to put ourselves in these situations. We're going to grow as players. We need to develop. Mm-hmm. As you've gotten older, are you shifting that to being like, this is who I am as a player, and now I just have to perform every day? Or do you find that you're still every day focused on development?
You know, I don't know if I should be shifting it because I'm 29, but I think for me, there's always just ways of developing and getting better and growing. And even as I'm 29, I think I'll always say that. Even hopefully I can play as long as I can. Who knows what will happen? But I just feel like there's always a way to get better. And like for me, it's just like, again, Tyler helps me a lot with that. Just like viewing the game and watching video, I think that's where I grow a little bit more, because I know like the tools that I have and what I can do on the field, but like how can I actually expose teams in a certain way, because, you know, physically I can't do this or that, or someone's just faster than me or whatever. Like I can beat them in other ways, or technically like I can be better in certain ways, or just read the game a little bit. And decision making, I think that is like a huge one. So I think those are the type of things that like I just get my brain working a little bit more, and that's how I'm trying to develop. Just because like some things like physically it's different. Like I'm not going to outrun Delphine on my team. She's insane. Or Ellie Carpenter. It's like it's just not going to happen. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, because it's hard, but
yeah, that totally answers my question. I always wonder, I wish I could have played longer, obviously, but I always wonder if when and where, if that mindset would have shifted from, okay, this is just who I am now. I'm older and I got to focus on performing every day. So it's a question I'm really interested in hearing what other people think about. Lindsey, have you spoken to any of your U.S. Women's National Team teammates about your experience at Lyon and like suggested that more people go play overseas? Do you have a message to anybody, like a younger player, about you should go and broaden your horizons?
I did speak to Foxy a while back because she was just interested, and I was actually hoping that she would come to Lyon, but um, but Arsenal's a good choice as well. I think for me, I've said this before, like I would never say like European route is the route to go, but I do think, and maybe you agree with me, you should always, get a different challenge and go experience a different league. I think it really helps your game, and it just makes you view the game maybe a little bit differently. And I say it actually to a lot of the French girls here because I'm just like, you have no idea what the NWSL is, and they have their opinions and judgments, but go play in it and let me know what you think. But so the conversation I had with Foxy was just like, I think it would be great because you've played these years in the NWSL, you're young, and I think the younger you are, the better for you to go play, overseas and at a team like Lyon or Arsenal or et cetera, et cetera. Why not? Like for any amount of time, like I just think it's like you got to play at Man City for a year and like, and I maybe like you and Rose are a little bit different and Abby, but I still think Rose benefited from the experience that she had, although it was really difficult or whatever. Like she went through something that, may have actually helped her career, and she got to learn and grow in a different way. And it was hard, but I still I commend Rose so much for doing that, and for you and for anyone that's gone overseas. I think it's massive.
I totally agree. And you were talking about Rose Lavelle there, our U.S. Women's National Team teammate. Rose and I played at Man City together for that season. I totally agree with you, Lindsey, that it's just a way of broadening yourself as a player. If you're exposed to one style of training all the time, you're going to get great at that style of training. There's so many different types of players to be training with, types of styles to be coached by. My experience at Man City showed me this whole new way of professionalism and technical ability that I really hadn't been that exposed to before. And I felt like just my idea of football grew in that short time that I was there. So I totally agree with you. I think every player at some point should do something a little bit outside their comfort zone. But you did that literally when you were 18. You left high school, didn't go to an American college. You moved to France to play for PSG at such a young age, and you've spoken about how that was a difficult time for you in a lot of ways. Do you feel any sense of like it's come full circle now that you're back in France and you've put this incredible stamp of success on this move? Like you returned to the place that maybe had been difficult for you before?
Yeah, it is crazy to think about. I think when I won the Champions League trophy, I think that's when the moment really hit me. I think it was just something that I had dreamt of for so long, and was like a big reason I went to PSG in the first place, because I was like, this is the competition that I want to play in. And of all the 3.5 years I was there, I didn't win anything. So I feel like, yeah, I didn't put like my stamp there. Again, like I said before, I didn't impact the way I wanted to. I think I was more just like waiting for my moment to go home and just getting through it. And now like I'm over here and I'm actually like living my life, and like what we talked about before, like I enjoy Lyon, and every day I'm excited to go to training and to work and play in these games and actually make a difference. And I think the trophies just it just kind of caps it off. So yeah, it's hey, I'm just so happy here.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you, Lindsey. Do you feel like you know more French now?
I think I do. My teammates don't. It's actually it's so annoying. Like my thing is like most of my teammates speak English, so I'm just like, to save us a few minutes, let's just speak English. But my French isn't actually that bad. I find it very easy to like speak to a stranger. My French isn't perfect, but I think it's really easy to speak with like someone I don't know.
Oh my gosh. That is so cool. That I have a goal. I'm going to get on Duolingo and start trying to learn. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the national team. Unfortunately, Lindsay, we have to relive last year a little bit. Obviously, the World Cup didn't go as well as we would have hoped. I hate to remind listeners, but the U.S. went out in the round of 16 for the first time in program history. It was a brutal loss on penalty kicks. The final one, if it was even over the line, you'd still have to prove it to us and Alyssa Nair, the U.S. women's national team goalkeeper. I still think she saved it. But anyways, you and I both have lived this experience of the U.S. women's national team for years, having such high standards, the absolute highest expectations of each other, an incredible mentality, great fitness. Literally every box you could check to be on the U.S. women's national team, you have to check every single one. But you mentioned in another interview that in 2023 at the World Cup, it just didn't feel like the team had that joy on the field. And I want to know why you think that was. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think the result at the World Cup was because we weren't doing something in preparation, or is it more so a testament to the growth of the game?
Well, one, it's 100% a testament to the growth of the game. And I kept saying it. It wasn't like an excuse for us. It's just like teams were so much better. And I mean, I feel like we should celebrate that. That's a really cool thing. Look at Portugal, the game that we played. I know we were shit in the game, but they were a really difficult team to play against. And that part I want to make sure like the women's football world, especially in America, like knows that. For me, I have to be careful what I say because I got dogged one time for talking about the preparation, but I think in a whole, the preparation could have been a little bit better, and that is not just throwing shade at the staff, it's for us as well. And when I talk about the joy, I think maybe because of the things that we're doing on the field and thinking too much and just not playing the game, that's completely on us. And we prepare for each game, we get the scouting report, we get the game plan and all these things, and for me, it's like it does fall on us on the field to make adjustments and, just do what the game gives us. And, I took a lot of that internally. You're captain, of course, you're gonna, look at yourself in the mirror first. And, I said that in an interview with Tobin and press, but of course no one's going to talk about that. But it's like, I knew certain games are not going our way. Things need to be changed. And like, what could have I done more in these games to help in that way? And I think that's probably like what hurt me the most, after the tournament is like, I could see it. I could watch it on film back and all these things. And I'm like, I know I can affect the game a little bit more and maybe I can fix some things on the field. So I think for us, and again, we have a young team, we 100% have to look at ourselves first. But as a whole, there's just so many things that could have been better. And it's hard to pinpoint everything. But again, I think it comes back to just like the first point you made. It's like teams are better, so like we can't just rely on certain things, and I think that's maybe what we were doing at times.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think when I hear you say, Lindsay, that you looked internally and that the team needs to look internally as the players, like that's the sign of a true leader for me, as somebody who can go through something really difficult like that and be the leader of the team and be the one who gets looked to in those moments and be able to like drop your ego for a moment and go, of course we were a part of this. Of course you're looking at yourself and demanding more from yourself, and like you did such an incredible job. But I just wanted to say, I think you have stepped up into this role as captain, and it shows by the fact that you're able to look internally and ask yourself those questions. So I think that's like was an incredible response. Okay, this is another terrible thing to bring up. I'm so sorry, but you missed a PK in Champions League with Lyon.
It's okay, you can bring it up.
But then you had to step up and take a PK against Sweden in this knockout round game, and you made it. And I know the first one is, I'm so sorry, but I want to shed light on this. What did you do in between? How did you get over that and turn around and then make a PK in this huge moment at the World Cup?
Sam, it was a disaster. Okay, not a disaster. I mean, after the after the Chelsea game, I was an absolute disaster. Because it's the
Your
last.
team Leon played Chelsea in Champions League.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, and
Okay.
my PK was the last PK, and that again made us lose. But there were other misses, whatever. That sucked so badly, and I had practiced as a certain PK for so long, and I just didn't. My technique was a little bit off in that game, and like I watched it back how many freaking times. But then leading into the World Cup, I was just like, yeah, you don't. I feel like we might be the same in that sense, but before the World Cup, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna work on this every single day that I'm on the field. I'm gonna get to a routine. I'm gonna have a backup plan, like whatever. When I stepped up in that game against Sweden, I did nothing that I had done in all my trainings. I literally reverted back. Tyler could not believe it. It was so funny because I actually worked a lot with him. God, it sounds like my coach, but I worked a lot with him, like what I should do. And so I had actually, I can't say all of my tricks and whatever, but like I was working on going to the right a lot. I was working on different things, whatever, and I had gotten one nailed down. And I stepped up and just didn't do it. It's so funny. So
sometimes your gut just has your back. I don't know.
It's crazy how that happens. You step up and you're just like, yeah, screw it.
So, I mean, do you feel like you were listening to your gut? Like, what were your emotions when you made the PK? Did everything you had trained, did that PK from the Lyon Chelsea Champions League game flash through your mind? Like, what did you feel running back to the team at the World Cup after you made it?
I think for me, again, it was like a little bit more responsibility because I was captain. I was like, I cannot let my team down in this moment. And the two PKs before me were great. One, I was like so proud of Andy for the first PK. I could not believe it.
Andy Sullivan, who went right before you. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Andy and then me. And
it's okay.
I was just like, yeah. I was like, there's not a second one. Andy before me, and I was like, that gave me this like extra motivation. I was like, I'm freaking doing this for my team. So I think after the ball went in the back of the net, I was like, one, I can't believe I just went to the left. Two, fuck yeah, like we are winning this thing. Like I have full confidence in my team if I just did that after that Chelsea. Yeah, it was an incredible. I think I screamed so freaking loud in that stadium, but yeah, that was a cool moment until.
I have goosebumps. It was really cool to watch. I want to backtrack a little bit. In the tournament, the game before the Netherlands game, you had like this moment you had that went viral for so many reasons. So your teammate at Lyon, Danielle Van de Donk, had kind of a nasty tackle against you. You had a few choice words. You guys had a small altercation. We saw Linda, the beast, come out.
Linda.
And then you immediately scored a goal. And I want to interject before I ask you. Sometimes when I would score a goal, it would feel like everything was in slow motion. Like the ball would be coming to me and I'd be like, oh, I see exactly how this is going to go in the goal kind of before it happened. And the seas would part and it would slow down. Do you remember seeing that ball coming to you and being like, oh my God, I'm open? Like, what did you feel as you scored that goal in a moment of rage?
For me, like, I don't know if it goes to slow motion. It's like I black out. Like I can't remember actually like hitting the ball into the back of the net. Like I feel like that doesn't really happen for me. I guess I just remember like the emotions afterwards. Like I was just like, it was just such an insane like, sport moment. Like I feel like that people just love that kind of thing. And again, it was just there's more story behind it. And I would actually love to talk about me and Dan after, but like, yeah, the moment was just really cool. And I also think it was like a moment that our team needed, regardless of who it was. And it was me scoring. I think it just kind of showed like the US mentality. Like you don't screw with us. Like if you're going to hit us like that, like we'll hit you right back and it's going to be in a certain way, whether it's a tackle like that or it's a goal in the back of the net. Like I think that I don't know, it showed some of us, and we just needed it.
Yeah, Lindsay, I agree. I mean, there was like a noticeable shift in the energy of the game when we were watching at home on TV, and I was so proud of you for just getting that goal in that moment. Like, it's exactly what you said. It was such a perfect response to like, okay, if this is how we're gonna play, then I'm about to score. But I did want to ask you. You said you wanted to talk a little bit more about you and Danielle, and I wanted to just start with like you guys posted this picture together after the game. How did you cool off? Like, what did you say to each other in the aftermath of this moment?
Um, yeah, it's so funny. Even our like Netflix documentary didn't keep all of like what I said about Dan, but I think it's like a perfect time to talk about just like this is football and this is how it goes. Like when we step on the field, like no one on the opposite team is our friends. Like that's it. I hope you agree with that, but it's like when I go and play Dan, I'm not thinking about my friendship with Dan. Um, and so in that game, like Dan's going to do, like, this is one thing I really respect about her as a player. She's going to do whatever she possibly can to win the game and help her team. And like part of like what's so great about it is her, like her aggressiveness, like doing anything to like win the ball. And again, like, yeah, I didn't like the challenge and it freaking hurt. And in that moment, I'm just like, what the, and of course, like I see Dan right away, and I'm just like, I'm going to say something to her, and then you score like whatever after the game. I think the big reason that I got over it quickly was I saw her in the swimming cap, and I looked
she
over
had
it.
sorry, Danielle Vanderdonk was in a swimming cap, everybody, because she had cut her head and was bleeding and needed to cover it over, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
glad you said that. There's no
I know.
context there for me.
So you see your friend and teammate and right now kind of arch nemesis in a swim cap after the game and you just had to laugh.
Yeah, like there was one moment once the final whistle blew where I was just like, are me and Dan gonna slap hands or what are we gonna do here? Could go anyway. And then I like look over at her and I see her in the swim cap. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That was their way of putting, like stopping the bleeding. And I went over to her and I still talk to her today about it because people like make it such a
Yeah.
big deal. And I'm just like, would they make it a big deal in men's football? Sorry to like play that card, but no, like these players go freaking after each other in national team and they play together
Yeah.
in club. Like I'm sorry, but that's how it goes. And then after the game, you shake your hand and you move on like that. Again, I appreciated that moment so much, even though it pissed me off. Like whatever.
Yeah. That's a great perspective. Do you think that if you weren't friends with Danielle Vanderdonk, like would your response maybe have been different? So I'm kind of asking like, are certain players more prone to bringing this out of each other? Like, do you have any arch nemesis across the world that you're like, if you tackle me, like, I'm going to be so mad?
That's actually an interesting question. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you
feel
did?
like
Oh,
I had like these in my own, and I'll never name them because that would be like giving them credit.
yeah.
And it's like, God forbid I would ever do that. But yeah, I had people that I was like, I have to be better than you. And if you ever like get by me, like, it's going to ruin my week.
That's it's actually so funny.
You don't have to name
I
anybody.
feel like
I totally get it.
no, no, but you know, it's funny. It's before like I came here and was playing with Dan. I felt like me and her always had these kind of encounters, like at the Tokyo Olympics. Like it was the same way. And when I was still playing with Portland, Leon had come for the ICC tournament, and things happened there. And I remember saying stuff to her on the field in that game, and I'm just like, why is this always Dan? So yeah, I feel like she was, but it wasn't like that player that like, oh, I have to absolutely destroy her. I think it was just like, why are we always having these
Yeah.
things on the field?
And it sounds like it has been built on like mutual respect for her
Yeah.
competitiveness and you guys being teammates. So wonderful, wonderful answer, Linz. On the eve of the tournament, we were devastated to find out that regular U.S. Women's National Team captain Becky Sauerbrunn would miss the World Cup with an injury. And it was such a blow to the team. Becky is like an incredible leader. Everybody knows that. The team really needs her on and off the field. But in her absence, you stepped up to co-captain the team with Alex Morgan. What did it feel like for you to be singing the national anthem in that first World Cup game with the armband on, knowing probably something that you had thought about a lot in the build-up. You were leading the team into the tournament.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the coolest moments of my life. Like most incredible feelings, and I know I was in tears. But I will never take that moment for granted. I always say like, well, one, it will always be an honor to play for our national team. But to like walk out with the captain's armband and, to receive that from Vlatko and to co-captain with Alex Morgan, who has been, such an incredible player, person, what have you, for for the U.S., for our nation, is just like, he chose you, Lindsey, like this is your moment. And I think I let myself take it in, like in the anthem, and then I'm like, okay, like afterwards we're gonna go play. But yeah, I don't know how to describe it without like getting really emotional, but it's just, you captain a team like that, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Oh, that's so cool. I think there's like a moment, there's two moments. The night before the game when the coach announces the roster and probably that you were captain, and you feel like, okay, I earned this. I'm starting. I'm in the squad. But then there's all this stuff that could happen before the game. Like, what if you roll your ankle in the warm up? So there's this second moment during the anthem that's like, okay, I earned it, and now I actually get to do it. And like, it's not going to change. Like, we're here, we're going. And I felt that way in the first game of the 2019 World Cup, where I felt like I earned it. And then it wasn't until right before the game that it actually hit me that I was like, oh, nothing can go wrong now. And it was such a special feeling to be like, we're doing it. Like, nobody can take this away. Okay.
It's so amazing.
Yeah, I know it is. It's a really special moment. Let's look ahead to what's in store for the national team in 2024. Starting with next month, there's an inaugural Gold Cup, this tournament that will see the U.S. play rivals from both CONCACAF and CONMEBOL. Lindsey, we have a little experience with inaugural tournaments like She Believes and the Challenge Cup in America. What does an inaugural competition feel like? Like, do you think it has a lot of meaning yet?
I think this one definitely will, because I think it's obviously the men have the Gold Cup and it's been kind of a big deal for them now, and there's a lot of press with that. And I think now that we actually have one and we have some like high quality teams coming to play in it, I think that is a lot more meaningful. I think the She Believes, like, it was just something that we had and we kind of just like made it. And I think now the Gold Cup, it's like an actual massive tournament. And, I think we need that in CONCACAF in the US, like whatever, because, in Europe we have the Euros, and like that's nice. And I think we always have looked at that and we're like, we want something like that. So I'm really happy that we actually have a tournament like this, and we have some like teams coming in that, make it that much more competitive.
The U.S. women's national team has named Emma Hayes, the legendary Chelsea manager who's won 6 WSL titles and 5 FA Cups, as the new manager of the national team. It's a really incredible appointment, and one I know that we're also excited about. Emma spoke to you all in December at camp. What was that conversation like, and what has the message been?
It was so great. I feel like you, of all people, would have loved it. You would have walked out of the meeting and been like, I'm so excited. I just, it was just, it was something that you needed. Like, I think when I walked out, I was just like, that's a true leader, a true coach, like someone that has a lot of experience and someone that wants to take this team to amazing places and sees the potential in it, and then maybe sees like the drop off and like what needs to be done. Just like her vision and experience is incredible. And you listed all the trophies and whatnot at Chelsea, but I think this is like such a cool opportunity for her, and just an amazing opportunity for us to have someone like that. So I think the conversations were great. Obviously, like, she couldn't fully be in, but the few days that we had her, I think, were very meaningful, and just for her to get to know some of the players. And obviously for me, it was great to have multiple conversations with her and just see, again, her vision and what she sees for this national team and how she, believes in us. And I know it's a little bit tricky with the situation at Chelsea, but, we have to respect her wanting to finish out her career there and in a good way. Hopefully not too good, because I'll be, hopefully winning the Champions League. But yeah, it's
I was
it's
waiting
been,
to see her.
it's been
Go
cool.
ahead and say it.
She said it enough
Lindsay,
while she
what you
was in camp.
Lindsay, what you keep referring to is that Emma will finish her campaign with Chelsea, which could take her through May, before she can really join up with the U.S. women's national team full time. So until then, the interim head coach, Twyla Kilgore, will oversee the day-to-day operations of the national team. Have they discussed a lot with you about preparation for the Olympics during this transition? Is there any, not to put like any feelings out there, but is there any anxiety over this kind of short preparation time for the Olympics?
Bits, but I think last camp was very helpful. I think a lot of players, there was just a lot of unknowns and just not a lot of answers at the time. But I think having Emma in, and obviously with Twyla being in, and the interim coach, I think she's done a really good job just like with messaging and also saying like, hey, this is, this past year is our time to prepare for the Olympics. Obviously we're coming off this, disappointing World Cup, and we need to get through that and work through that, and we did. And now it's like, you know how it is, like we just kind of have to turn the page, and we have a major tournament that the US puts so much into, because this, I mean, it's an Olympics, it's a gold medal that is at stake. So I think right now the Gold Cup is a huge moment, and we just have a few camps then after. So it's kind of just like, hey, every moment that we have together now, whether Emma is here or not, she will be watching. And Twyla in the interim is doing such a great job at preparing us. And again, it's on us to actually put in the work. So I think the players truly believe that now, and like are absolutely all in. And like, there's no more unknowns like this. We know everything. We know what we have to do, and it's on us.
So exciting. We're talking about the Olympics that will take place this summer in Paris. Lindsay, this is going to be your third Olympics.
Yeah, what?
I know. I feel like the Olympics is seen differently throughout the football world, but in women's senior international football, what does the Olympics feel like compared to the World Cup?
It's such a hard question. I don't know what you think, but like for me, the Olympics is, you have all of these athletes in the US that you get to support and compete with, and I think that's like the true difference. I think it's still like just a massive major tournament. I think the World Cup is just football, so maybe it's like a little bit higher in terms of like, winning a World Cup and the comparison, what's better. It's just different. But the Olympics, like, it's such a cool feeling, like, to be a part of Team USA, and you guys are all like competing to win gold medals, and you get to cheer on all your respective, US athletes in their respective sports. Like, that's for me, that's like such a cool thing. And I'm sure you did, but growing up watching the Olympics, it was so amazing. It was so cool rooting for all these different athletes. So I think that's like the special thing for me, at least, about the Olympics.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I always felt like in the football world, the World Cup is all the way up here. But when you're just like on an airplane and somebody asks you what you do, like the Olympics resonates more with like the average person, I feel like, for some reason.
Yeah, well, especially in America.
Exactly. Okay, Lindsay, that wraps it up for us. The day that this episode is coming out, you have a Champions League game against St. Polten at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and everybody can tune in to watch that game on DAZN. Lindsay, anything they should expect to see?
This might ruin this, but they should expect not to see me, because I will be suspended for that game.
Wow. I'm sorry about that. So people can tune in and see Lindsay maybe sitting in the stands.
It was a BS red card, if anyone wants to know.
Yeah, it was a BS red card.
Maybe it might be rescinded. So
fingers crossed. Lindsay, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on and being the very first guest on the women's game.
Well, thank you for having me as the first guest.
Well, we'll have
So
you back
nice.
on hopefully soon. We will have you back if you'll be back.
I will always be back anytime you want.
Oh my gosh, what an awesome interview with Lindsey Horan. I was so surprised when she told us about how she forgave Danielle Vanderdonk so quickly after the game. She was just like, yeah, that's part of the game. And I was like, I would still be mad about this. But way to go, Lindsey. You are such a great person and we love you. Thank you again for coming on. The show has so much more in store for you all. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Sign up for and read the Women's Game newsletter, delivered to your inbox every Monday. And please continue listening to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be dropping a new episode every Thursday. Coming up in the next few weeks, we have Lucy Bronze, Mal Swanson, Crystal Dunn, and I'm even working my connections to see if I can get West Ham United sensation Christy Mewis on this podcast. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.